Good evening, exiles. Today I want to talk to you about Richard W. Sears, the guy who created the Sears company. So when he was a teenager, his dad died. So he went to work trying to make money for his family. And he got a job around 16, 17 years old in a train station. So he's doing mostly like sweeping and cleaning and probably carrying people's baggage, stuff like that. Unskilled task because he was a teenager. So he found a liking to the telegraph and learned how to run the telegraph. That way, when the telegraph operator wasn't there, he was sick or anything like that, he could get telegraph operator pay. Well, then he became the full-time telegraph operator, eventually over time. He also learned how to do other jobs around the train station. And over time, he learned how to run everything with the train station. So when the company that owned the train station needed somebody to run their other train station, they picked him and had him move to a different city to run that train station, because there's no point in having somebody who can run, or two people to run. They can run a train station, all working in the same train station, and also there's no point in hiring somebody and then having him have to learn how to all the intricacies and stuff with the train station. And a lot of companies should learn how to do that today. I don't know how many times I've worked for a company and had to train my supervisors because they have a business degree, so they get hired to be a supervisor, but they don't know anything about our production. Now, sometimes I know that's necessary, but for somebody like a supervisor, having a business degree is not as important as knowing how to manage people and knowing the production process. So a lot of times you'd be better off taking somebody who knows how to manage people and knows the production process and moving them up into a team leader position and then slowly moving them into a supervisory role. Maybe not a plant manager, but maybe. And hiring internally people that already know how to run everything and know the production process and know all the materials and all that stuff, so you don't have to train them on that. Or take an employee that knows all that stuff and send them to some sort of team building classes and stuff like that so they can learn how to run a team. So anyway, finish the first page of notes. All right. So while he worked at that train station, a shipment of watches got sent in, like a whole train car of watches, I believe. But it was a lot of watches. Got sent to a local jeweler, and the jeweler's like, I don't want these. I didn't ask for them. I didn't order them. I'm not paying for them. So Sears was going to have to send them back at the expense of the train company. Well, he talked to the jeweler or the watch manufacturer, and he bought them with his personal money. And then what he did is he created like a sales flyer and then left them out places in the train station. And it had his contact information in it. And people would take the sales flyers with them on the train, and they get left on trains and passed around, and he ended up selling all the watches. Well, he's like, hey, I kind of like this watch business thing. So he started buying and selling watches and other jewelry and doing basically sales flyers to sell them while running the train station. Well, he decided to expand that business, probably because he was bored of running a train station, and he moved to Chicago and he hired a jeweler. Last name Roebuck. I didn't write down his first name. That's where Sears Roebuck Company comes from. Was their business partner, but they didn't start the Roebuck Company yet. But they were business partners in this jewelry company, and they would buy jewelry and manufacture jewelry, and they had a whole bunch of jewelers working underneath them, and they would buy and sell jewelry and sell it through mail order catalogs. Well, eventually, Sears, he had a bunch of money. He decided to sell Roebuck his half of the company and retire early. Well, that lasted like 2 years, and then he was bored of it. So he asked Roebuck if he could buy his half of the company back, and that's when they created the Sears Roebuck Company. And they started selling more stuff, not just jewelry and watches and stuff like that. But this is when the Sears catalog really started to take off, and they were selling, jewelry. They were selling cream separators to farmers. They were selling, stuff for women at the time to use, like pressure canners and stuff, or pressure cookers, stoves. They were selling even cars, shotguns, houses. Even at that time you could buy a Sears house, and here in I live in Mishawaka, but here in at Elkhart and Goshen, I know have a couple of old Sears houses still. Catalog bought houses, and they come on a semi with all the lumber pre-cut and everything, and you just assemble the house. So you can buy a house out of a catalog. Not some assembly required, a lot of assembly required. Like, it had a box of nails. You had to nail everything together yourself. But because he was kind of probably ADD, most likely ADD, Sears was really bad at managing the office and keeping the office organized and keeping things running smoothly. He could make sales, he could sell anything, but organizing he had trouble with. So what he did is that made Roebuck drove him nuts. So apparently they got in an argument. Roebuck sold his half to Sears to get out of the business. And that's when Sears hired Rosenward, a guy he had worked with before. He worked for one of Sears' suppliers, and he really liked how well he organized things and how he could manage the office stuff. And he just happened to also be Sears' brother-in-law. So he got the office all organized and running super efficient, and they started to decrease their cost and make more profit off of each item they sold, and sold more items because they were more efficient in the office. Which is something, there's two lessons there. One, we need to learn to rely on other people to try to help us where we're weak. So me and Sarah are both really bad at keeping tidy and organized. What we need to do is find a way to have Daniel help us without it making it seem like it's a chore for him. Have him help keep us organized while we work with him to help him on some of his weaknesses. And be together as a team, because that's how families should act. And then also, companies like where I work at, since we're in a recession, our sales are down because the RV industry is slowed down. We're having a lot of problems. All of the problems that we're experiencing in the office are being magnified. So what we should do is concentrate on fixing the office problem. Okay, I got a phone call. Sorry about that. So that's the problems with recording on your phone. But anyway, so they need to concentrate on making the office more efficient and lean, and getting rid of some of the problems in the office, so that isn't magnified out to us on the floor, so we can get our job done more efficiently. So those are the two big lessons we can learn from Sears that way. And also, he was a hard worker. Like, he got a job when he was a teenager to support his family, and then he when he tried to retire, he went back to work because he got bored, because all he wants to do is work. But then there was a depression, not the Great Depression, it was another smaller depression before the Great Depression. And Sears got in an argument with Rosenwood about how to run the company during the Depression. Sears wanted to increase and grow still and take more risk and more risky sales, because one of the things that made him so profitable is because he would take an item that they had never sold before, and he would buy twice as much as his competitors was were buying and try to sell all of them. And that way he could get a lower discount rate and become more profitable than Montgomery Ward and the other catalog sales companies. But that was really risky. So during the recession, depression, he got in an argument with his business partner and brother-in-law, and the board of directors ended up siding with Rosenwood that they weren't going to be taking some risky stuff. They were just going to, keep doing what they were doing, not try to expand. And Sears ended up getting mad about that, and he quit, sold off his share of the company, but stayed on as the head of the board. But he was so bitter, he never came to any of the board meetings, even though he was head of the board. And since his name was on the company, they didn't want to fire him from the board of directors. But that's something else we need to learn, is not to get so heated and hot-headed that we just quit and destroy something we've been working on our whole lives. Even though Sears continued to grow after that, I'm betting there's a lot of stuff that the Sears Corporation continued to grow. I'm betting if Sears was still involved with it, it would have grown faster. But since he got mad and stuff and left, then he had no influence over the company and couldn't do anything. So instead of getting mad and quitting, he would have been better off of getting mad but staying involved and trying to push things his direction over time, instead of just butting heads and going at it straight at it. Just be a little bit more tactful. And that's all I got about what was his first name? Richard W. Sears. I always remember his last name because that's the name of the company, but Richard W. part I have trouble remembering. So I hope you learned something from him, and I hope you take this as insight and the stuff we can learn from his life, and I hope you can apply it to your life somehow. And like me and Sarah are going to try to apply some of these lessons from him into our lives. So thank you for watching, and remember, we, his people, will start rebuilding.